the June issue of the Mover magazine, which quite honestly, I think I've overcooked it a bit. I think there's far too much stuff in there for you to read all in one go. So you might have to do a bit of bedtime swatting to catch up with all the stories because there's quite a lot in there. But I just want to run through. I'm not going to go through all of it because it wouldn't make sense. But there's one or two stories here that I particularly wanted to mention. I've done a report on the FIDE conference, for example, in Dubrovnik, which was a very good event, I thought, and I hope you did too. I'm very pleased to have been able to reproduce a story from Dan Bradley. Dan is the guy in IAM that looks after the US military matters, and he's talking about the rather confusing situation, which is, putting it mildly, revolving around the Department of Defence contract, and giving his very frank opinions about it. Also, he could explain that far better than I could. So please do read that one. We've got our cover story is an interview with Irina Yakimenko, who is from Intermark, and it's I think a fascinating tale, which I really ought to let you read. But Irina was born in Moscow, of Jewish parentage, and she is moved to the UK when the war broke out between Russia and Ukraine. But she's talking about not only about the business and about building up the business, but about the difficulties that she has with wearing those two shirts, as it were, both being Jewish and being Russian, at a time when the obvious is going on. It's not easy, and I know you're going to be interested to read the story, so please do. I'll explain it no more than that. There's an interview that I did with Alan Teeb about the 50 years of AGS, which is a company that has developed dramatically in those 50 years. We talked about all kinds of things. We talked about working with relocation management companies, and we talked about building relationships with other organisations in the industry, and much more. The Africa 54 thing that they did. Anyway, do read the story, because it's always interesting to find out what Alan has to say about life, the universe, and everything, and loads of other stuff. As well, there's another one of my practical guides to AI, coming from me, of all people, who knows nothing about AI, but the person that's written the story did, and I made sure that I could understand it, so I know that you can. So please do read that. And there is also a story that I'm very sorry to have to put in again. You might remember a couple of years ago, I did a story called "It's Not Okay," and it was about the sexual intimidation of women at conferences. And I didn't expect that one story was going to solve the problem, but I think we are talking about it a little bit more now. But in the last phase of conferences, it's been perfectly clear that this kind of thing is still going on, and it's not just trivial stuff. Some of it is really nasty, and we're going to have to figure out a way of stopping this. And I'm afraid the organisations themselves, the moving organisations, the moving associations, are going to have to take a lead on it. But anyway, the story is just to remind everybody about that, and I laid down a bit of a challenge. But anyway, read the other stories too, and all the ones that I didn't mention, and I hope you thoroughly enjoy it, and I'll see you next time.